Okay, so I got a new Dremel recently, mostly because I was having some issues with my other one, but also I figured it was time for an upgrade anyway, because the one I had was a fairly entry-level one, whereas this is a more medium-level one, which is a bit more expensive, but also offers a bit more in terms of build quality and the ability to adjust it at varying speeds. So I bought the Dremel 3000, as you can see here, which is, like I said before, a pretty medium-range Dremel, which is better for my purposes. And also I bought some extra attachments to go with it, besides just the base kit. But I figured that this actually gave me the idea to do a small like mini series about maybe some of the more advanced tools in Nerf modding, whereas a Dremel is a fairly basic one. It gave me the idea to maybe go over some various tools that might not be quite as straightforward. Like, I think a lot of people obviously know the basic tools, but there are a lot of other various tools that some people use for modding, and I particularly use for modding, and some other machines that I like to use just to make modding a bit easier, more clean, and whatnot. So I figured I'd go over a variety of different power tools I have, as well as some other things, just in a small like mini series to get people, especially newer modders, acquainted with some things that might be out there and that they might be interested in acquiring in the future. Personally, I am a mechanical engineer, so I do a lot of machining and other various things. So I know a decent amount about tools, so I figured I might want to share some of my knowledge, especially with nerfing applications, with some maybe newer modders. So this is just kind of the start of a different series. Let me know if you like it in the comment section below, or if you have any specific tools that you would like to see. Okay, now a Dremel or rotary tool essentially is what I would equate to be the Swiss Army knife of your Nerf modding tools, as it has a variety of applications and it can do just a ton of different things if you really wanted it to. So that gives you a lot of different options in one particular tool. I would highly recommend picking this up fairly early, as it, if you plan on modding a lot, as it'll make a lot of your work relatively easier. The reason I say Dremel or rotary tool is just because Dremel is actually a brand name. So like this is a Dremel brand rotary tool, whereas this one is a Black& Decker. So that would just be considered a rotary tool, whereas that's actually a Dremel, just because of the name brand. Okay, now a Dremel actually works by inserting one of the various bits into this front piece called a chuck, and essentially what that will do is it'll tighten around the various bit and it'll hold on to it as it rotates it. And then most Dremels will have a different speed adjustment for how fast you want to spin it, and that'll allow you to get a better accuracy in terms of using this tool, as it is a hand tool. Okay, now you'll most likely be using several bits, a lot more than other bits in terms of Nerf modding with the Dremel. One of the main ones you'll be using is this cutoff or cutting disc. As you can see here, these can break, so be really careful and make sure you're wearing safety glasses, as with all power tools. So, like I said, they can break, but they are replaceable. They'll generally come in packs, and you can use these to cut most Nerf modding materials. It'll cut pretty much any plastic or whatever you really need for Nerf modding purposes. You can cut in some metals, however, I tend to stay away from that with most Dremels and use more powerful tools. However, it can get the job done, and it'll pretty much cut whatever you need for your Nerf modding purposes. Another one on the topic of removing materials would be the sanding discs, drums, and cones. Some of them, as you can see here, are like this, where they almost have a barrel shape to them, and these sanding drums can actually be replaced by removing the screw at the top, and then you can replace it with a different one if it gets worn out, or with a different grit sandpaper if you need it for a different purpose. This is really good for cleaning up a lot of your cuts, as Dremel cuts are generally done by hand, so they can be a little bit sloppier than if you cut it with the more precision tool. However, this can easily help you clean it up. Also, that being said, there are cone-shaped ones, which have a bit of a taper to them. You can use this for a variety of purposes. I generally use the cone-shaped ones for boring out the insides of barrels, making it smoother for most darts to enter, especially if you're working on like an air or Springer for that matter, but with a lot of CPVC especially, you'll need to do a little bit. I'm not actually sure what the technical name for this one is. I'm sure it has some name, however, it's practically similar to an end mill for a mill, for those of you who are familiar. Basically, it's not, although it looks like a drill bit, it's not a drill bit. As you can see, the tip is flat, whereas a drill bit, here's a big one, for example, but you can see it has that cone shaped, and that's for actually drilling holes into things. This is more for cutting channels and cutting other various things, so you'd put it into the Dremel. You'd probably already have a hole drilled, and then if you needed to drill like a small channel or something, you would use this type of bit. That's pretty much it for Nerf modding purposes. I mean, that's the majority of the bits you're going to be using. There are a ton of other bits, like various like polishing pieces and other grinding stones and other things you're not really going to be using for Nerf. However, you can use if you really wanted to. That's pretty much it in terms of bits. While you can buy the bits individually, I would recommend picking up a pack, especially if you're relatively new. They have ones that specialize in like cutting or polishing or sanding, but I would just recommend picking up a general purpose one if you're relatively new, lose the bits like me. Before I had all my tool sorting equipment, chests and whatnot. So I would just recommend picking up a general purpose one. Never hurts to have extra bits anyway. This wasn't actually $90, don't worry. That's just saying it's like a $90 value. Or whatever, but you know. I would definitely recommend picking up a Dremel if you don't have one already. It's a great addition to any Nerf modding tool workbench type thing. If you don't have one already. But like I said, that's pretty much it for Dremels. If you actually want to see more videos like this, just let me know in the comment section down below. I can make them on a variety of different tools that I have and use for modding, so if you're interested, let me know in the comments, or if you think I should change anything about this format, or if you don't want to see it at all, just let me know. I would appreciate the feedback. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed.